Last week we found out about the lost Oregon ski areas whose memories have all but faded, but come alive in a new book written by Steve Stenkamp.
Steve pointed out to me that there's a man who was largely responsible for the winter recreation explosion in Central Oregon, whose memory has all but faded into the history books as well. In fact, in researching this story, I only found one picture of him in existence.
Which is a complete injustice, because what he did changed the future of winter recreation and tourism forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the story of the unsung hero of winter recreation in Central Oregon, Mr. James Egan.
So James Egan came to Central Oregon in 1956 as the new forest supervisor for the Deschutes National Forest. Upon arrival here, he found a lot of things that he really liked about Central Oregon and the Deschutes National Forest. But while he was here, he also noticed the potential on what was then known as Bachelor Butte.
And James Egan wasn't just a man of powerful words, he was also a man of action.
Egan so much believed in the potential of Bachelor Butte that he talked the county into building a road from Cascade Lakes Highway into the area where they would build this ski area, which was no small feat in 1957.
At the time, Skyliner Ski Hill was the hub of skiing in Central Oregon, and a lot of vocal critics thought it should stay that way.
So there was a lot of opposition in the community. Egan steps in and starts playing Henry Kissinger. All the naysayers, he'd go talk to them. He was active in service organizations, so he would speak any chance he had and tell them about the values of building a new ski area.
Besides the pushback from some locals, the state of Oregon didn't want to have to reimburse for plowing of the roads. So once again, Egan sharpened his pencil and got to work.
In March of 1958, he penned a economic analysis of what a ski area would mean to Bend. So he had this very simple economic analysis talking about how all these visitors would come in, they'd spend money in motels, spend money in restaurants, in a season that was historically slow for Bend.
Yeah, little did I know that before Mount Bachelor opened, winter recreation, which is one of our biggest revenue bases for the county now, it barely existed. So once again, our unsung hero saved the day.
His article was so well received, it convinced ODOT to go ahead and reimburse the county for plowing the roads. Unfortunately, 2 weeks after he wrote that letter to the editor, he passed away from leukemia. He never got to see Mount Bachelor operated.
So much like how Moses never got to see the promised land, James Egan never got to see his promised land come to fruition. But for a while at least, his memory lived on up at the place that he helped create.
The company was so impressed with what he did and his actions to make it possible, they named their first lodge Egan Lodge. And so that building stayed until the year 2000, and there was also a ski run called Egan Way.
And while the lodge and ski run have faded into the history books, there is one piece of James that lives on that most people simply know as the Cone. But little did I know, it's actually called Egan Cone.
Administratively, there was a little issue with that name getting transferred into the Geographic Names database, which is the database they use to, anytime there's a name change or they add a name, this is an automatic feature that when maps are printed, those names show up.
But once again, history almost faded the memory of James Egan, because guess what? Egan Cone doesn't show up on most maps.
So the next time a topographic map is printed for the Mount Bachelor area, which I believe is going to be in 2027, the name Egan Cone will be printed on those maps.
Thankfully, the error has been discovered, so the memory of James Egan will rise from the historical ashes. Justice will finally be served.
100%, if James Egan hadn't done what James Egan did, I'm absolutely convinced that Mount Bachelor would not have opened in 1958.
For Central Oregon Daily News, I'm Scott Elness.